This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today we find ourselves in the heart of a sleeping city where there lies incredible wealth. The city gates are well guarded, but no one is watching what's under their feet. So we'll be burrowing into the city through a network of underground passages to grab valuable items while attempting to gain control of key districts. We'll be stealing the best items, creating the longest passages, and controlling districts to become the premier Prowler. Prowler's Passage is a two-player tactical game designed by J. Alex Cavern that takes 25 minutes to play and is published by Renegade Game Studios. Let me show you how a game works, and I'll see you on the other side. In Prowler's Passage, you're trying to have the most wealth at the end of the game, and you'll mostly be doing that by gaining control of different districts. As you pull these on your side, you'll be controlling these, which will allow you to score certain things for those districts at different times throughout the game, but the other player is going to be trying to control them as well, and so it's going to be a tug-of-war of these 5 different districts throughout the game. Turns are very simple. You're going to simply place a passage on any one of the lines where there is a token, and you're going to take that token and place it in front of you, and you're going to place your passage there. Now when you do that, the 2 adjacent districts you'll be able to influence. This is the white, and this is the yellow. So both of those will come one spot because I have influenced both of those districts. Now the other player might go here, take these keys because they're going to place here, and this one is next to 2 yellow districts, so they actually have to move this twice, and now they're in control of it. Now you don't necessarily have to place anywhere near where you are. You could even say go over here, go like this, take the gold again, and now you're going to go purple and white will go on your side like that. And this is sort of how the turns work. That's how simple they are. Now you'll notice 4 different statues. If at any point in time someone causes the statue to be completely surrounded, they take this statue. This is worth points, but it's also one of the ways that you can cause scoring to happen. Now scoring will happen twice throughout the game. One's called mid-game and one's end-game. The mid-game will happen if either 2 of the 4 statues have been taken, it happens at the end of that turn, or if both players only have 5 passages left, it will happen then. Scoring will happen on this scorecard. There's a mid-game and end-game for both players, and you go through this scoring reference. First of all, you'll look at your longest set of passages, sort of like Longest Road in Settlers of Catan, where you're going to look at and you're going to get $2 for however your longest road is. So on mine, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's my longest one times 2 is going to be worth 12. Where the green player basically has 1, 2, 3, 4, so they would get 8. Then each player would get a coin for each of the statues they have, and then you go to set collection. You'd look at how many you have of each of the different sets of tokens, not counting the shovels. We have 2 golds, so that would be worth 3, and I have 1 of each of those be 1. But as you can see, if you get up to 5, 6, or 7 of one type, you can really run up the score for set collection on its own. Then the next sets of scoring are all going to be for the different districts. You only score this if you're in control of that district. So if the board looked like this, we are on this side of the board, we would be able to score for these 2 districts, the other player would be able to score for those 2 districts, and nobody's winning that one, so nobody would score for that one. And the other side of the player aid shows you what the different districts are. Yellow's banking, blue's political, and so on and so forth. So you'd go down the line. Now I was controlling this one, so I'd get 1 point for each of my golds, which is 1, and just 5, so I'd have 7 there. The other player had the political district. They would get 1 point for any of the blue tokens they have, plus they'd get $2 for each of the districts that they control that are on their side. During the market in the purple district, that was us, we'd get 1 point for each of the purples that we have, and we'd get 1 for each of the statues that we have, and we'd get 1 point for how far down that track the purple was. For example, here it's just 1, but if it was way down here, it'd be worth 4. And if you won the residential, you'd get 1 for each of the keys, which is for the residential, and your longest road, 3 or higher, would get you some certain amount of gold there as well. And then if you own the castle district, these shovels we haven't talked about yet. We'll show you what these do in just a moment. But you get minus 1 point for any shovel token you have, and you get 3 points for every pair of sets. So this would be a pair of gold would get me 3, a pair of anything else would get me 3. As many pairs as you have, you score that way. That's the mid-game scoring. Final scoring is almost exactly the same with one little twist. Couple more things to talk about. The shovel here, if someone goes here, if it's a single shovel like this, not only do they move the 2 districts like they normally would, like in this case yellow, blue, but they also can move any one district that they want. It doesn't even have to be one that they were controlling. However, if that was a double shovel, it actually influences these two districts one more time, so each of them would go forward 2 towards that player. Also, there's 3 different achievements that are in each game, and there's a whole pile of these, so this game has a ton of replayability. And these would get scored at the end of the game. They don't happen during mid-game scoring. If you control one district or more by 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if this player got this here, then they could take this and put it in front of them. The other player cannot get it. It's worth 6 at the end if you completely surround a specific area or district. So for example, this is a total surrounded area. They'd be able to take this and then collect one of each of the item types. You could take that. And again, those change each game. That continues until all of the passages have been played by both players, and you go to end game scoring. End game scoring happens the same way that mid game scoring happens, except now if you own the purple district, you get 1 point for each of the achievements you got, and you also get to add the points of those achievements in your final game scoring. Essentially, you'd add up your mid game scoring and your final scoring, and whoever has the most points is the winner. All right, well, there's Prowler's Passage. Now, this game made my top 5 games that I played at the GAMA trade show. It was a prototype copy at the time, but man, I was so enthralled with this game that it made that top 5 games I played, and I'm still even more excited about this game. It's designed by J. Alex Cavern, who's designed games that I just happen to love, like World's Fair 1893. Now, Gold West I haven't yet played, but I'm dying to. It's the only one of his I haven't played yet. Sentient's been really good. And now this, I think actually this is probably my favorite of the games of his that I've played. He's quickly becoming one of my favorite designers. I listened to an interview of him on the Renegade Society radio live stream, and he was talking about how he does data analytics during the day, and that he learns some things from his job to bring into his designs, and some things into his designs and brings into his job. And I feel this sort of the same way because I have an engineering job for my full-time job. And so him and I basically have very similar jobs where we both work with data analytics and statistics and stuff. So I think our brains probably work the same because everything he does is so good to my brain. It's super puzzly. They're just easy, easy to learn. So his designs just really have been hitting me hard lately. This one in particular, like many of his other ones, have simple mechanisms without a lot of depth. That's one of my big things. I talk about my depth to complexity ratio, meaning how deep is a game by how simple can the rules be. And this game has so simple rules. It's literally place a passage, take a token, and move a couple of districts. That's it. I mean, it's so easy to teach, but my gosh, does this game have a lot of layers that you learn from, as you go on, even just the setup. More on that in just a moment, but simple mechanisms, deep gameplay. This game is literally a 2-player tug of war where you're going to be deciding what you're fighting for, going back and forth on districts. You'll probably fight over some of those, especially depending on what tokens you get over the course of the round. Now, if you liked sort of that Seven Wonders duel aspect of fighting over the military, bringing it back and forth, I mean, picture that with all different ones, more than one, multiple, I think 5 off the top of my head, that you're going back and forth tug or warring with, and it's really a fun aspect. And it's not just all about the tug of wars, it's if I'm gonna win this, I better be doing this, and I need to focus on it, or I might as well just go focus on this, or maybe, you know what, they've been focusing on that the whole game, maybe I can sneak up behind them and kind of pull that back towards my side towards the end of the game without them noticing it. Do some sneaky moves with some of the shovels and stuff. So 2-player tug of war. This game does have a spatial aspect because you're kind of looking at where these things go. You're looking at your roads. You're looking at how to make it longer. You're looking at what tokens you're getting. But there is sort of a little bit of spatial aspect. But it has a lot of set collection in it too, because depending on which guilds you're trying to control, you're going to be going after different tokens of that type, maybe going for sets, maybe trying to pull that purple thing as far as you can down, maybe trying to get a bunch of gold, and it's got a lot of set collection aspects to it, where even in the scoring you're going to get a certain amount by collecting certain sets, and then even one of the districts gets you sets for points for pairs of the same sets and things like that. So if you like set collection, you're going to like this one. I like the mid-game scoring timing. The fact that it's when both players have just 5 passages left, or the 2 of the 4 statues get taken. And so you can sort of play with that. I always love the idea of like games having this timer, but yet ways to manipulate that. Like Lost Cities is one of my favorite games of it's a completely different game, but you can sort of manipulate whether you want the game to go longer or shorter. And this has that same thing where like, you know what, I'm doing pretty good, but I don't quite want the scoring to happen yet because I kind of want to pull this over to my side first. So I'm going to avoid the statues. Where the other player might be like, hey, I really want it to end right now because my mid-game score is going to be great. Let's grab those statues, try to fill them up. So I love that aspect of it. I like the end game achievements. Again, one more layer of thing to think about in this game. Like there's not already enough. So you've got those other goals that you're trying to go through. I can't even say how highly I think of this game. I really like the replayability of this game. It's really one of the huge strengths of this game. I love two-player tactical games, and I think this is one of those ones that, it's very puzzly, which I love. JX Cavern tends to make these types of games that I love. But man, the replayability of it is off the charts. As you saw, there's certain tiles that won't be played each game. Plus, they're sort of randomly orientated. Plus, some of the tokens, they're all randomly placed, and many of them have different things on the other sides. Then you've got the different achievements, and my gosh, every game is gonna feel different. You're gonna need to look at the game, look at the board, and try to decide which way you wanna go, but then always reacting to what the other player is doing too. And for as many different ways to score there are, I am blown away at how balanced this game is. He is definitely a mathematician to the nth degree. I mean, I played a ton of games of this, and every single time, we're within like 3 points, at least, within 3 points or less almost every time. And it just blows my mind how well balanced the game is. So overall, I absolutely love it. Are there anything negative I can say about it? Yeah, there's always some things that can be better about games. Number one, the theme isn't strong. It literally could be anything. But that tends to be, Alex's designs tend to be a bit abstract as he comes up with mechanics first and then theme second. So if you're really a person that likes thematic stuff, this isn't gonna bring that to you. I don't mind it because the game is just so good. And at least it's a unique theme of making passages and stuff, and they all make sense. I'm just glad it's not the standard run-of-the-mill theme, so I'm cool with that. The biggest problem I had with the game actually was in the production of this. The colors are very muted, and I think that's on purpose because it's nighttime and it's supposed to feel like you're at night and going under passages and sort of dark and stealing things, and I get that, but it kind of did playing the game a disservice because even in normal lighting conditions, some of the colors are tough to distinguish from each other. The browns and the purples, especially in low lighting conditions, my gosh, forget it. It's really hard. You really have to look closely as to the items and such. But it's really, as you're glancing around and trying to see all these different things and all your strategies, the purples and the browns go together, and even some of the buildings themselves, they did a good job of making all the buildings, even of each of the same colors, look differently to give the game a little bit of a pop. But at the same time, some of the buildings just mesh. Like even one of the brown buildings actually has some purple in it. And if it's put next to a purple building, it can be kind of confusing. And even some of the two yellow ones can sometimes, you might think it's white unless you see it right next to each other. So I just wish they would have done a little bit more with the color palette here to make them more distinguishable. But once you know that and you know the game really well, it doesn't bother you, but at first it might be a little hard. Overall, I absolutely love this game. One of my favorite two-player games I've played in a long time, and it's getting a saxophone serenade.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.